Welcome to the Sexy Freedom Media Podcast, a place to discuss pain, passion, and pursuits.
I want to feel alive.
Breathe.
Make some moves.
Protect the throne. This is Sexy Freedom Media Podcast.
Welcome to the Sexy Freedom Media Podcast. It's your host, Helen Edwards, and
January Liddell. Aloha.
hey, January, what's going on?
Hey, oh my gosh, I'm excited about this topic today. It draws very near to my heart and everything that's been going on, I feel, for the past month and even for you at this moment. So what are we talking about today, Helen?
So today we're talking about bouncing back, mastering the art of resiliency.
Ooh. Okay, so part of the reason why this was an important topic is because May was just insane. May was an insane month for me. It challenged me to my core. It challenged me to the point where I almost did not want to get up. And it was important that we talk about resiliency because I caught a glimpse of what could possibly be happening to other people who are feeling down, who are feeling depressed, who are feeling like the world is against them, who are feeling that everything is just not going their way. And that was me for the month of May. It started with an ER visit for my daughter, the next day for my son, hospital for my son, ER for me, then following day ER again. And it was ER after ER after, oh, it was insane. On top of other life challenges that are going on. I have work, I have a husband, I have responsibilities at home. And it was overwhelming, super overwhelming. And I can feel that I'm not the only one out there. I went through different Facebook pages of my diverticulitis, which is what I had. I have severe diverticulitis, which is inflammation of the colon. So now I'm just having to adjust the things that I put into my body and really be mindful of it and make the choice of, do I want to suffer the pain again by eating this particular thing? Even though I love it, even though it's delicious, even though everyone is eating it, do I want to suffer the pain? So I'm having to adjust. So on top of all of that, I was very overwhelmed. And there was one day this past week where I just wanted to not get out of bed. And I did. I did just that. It was one full 24 hours of being in bed. I've never in my entire life have done that ever before. But it was a lot because not only were we going through all these different health challenges, but then there was another health challenge of fevers and colds and all these other things that we're still kind of fighting. So I want to ask Helen, because I know you and I have gone through so many different challenges. What do you do when you're faced with that moment where you can either stay in bed all day and you can, just cover up, or you can go and do something else? What do you do in that moment?
Well, first of all, I definitely can tell you're a little bit unwell still. And, everybody knows me and January are really close. And when you see your friend not feeling well and then getting hit time and time again, but you know how resilient she is, you're just like, come on, you can do this. But also with grace, like whatever you're going through, you've got to go through it, like not around it, but through it to come out on the other end, not just stronger. Like, I don't want to just say stronger, but come out with an understanding. Like you said, I know what I have to do now. I understand I've got to feed myself the better food. So what, okay, for me, just to let people know, like, resiliency is often referred to as a psychological resilience. It's a well-studied concept in psychology and related fields. I wanted to share some things that I found about resiliency, and then I'll give an example of my own life. But resiliency is closely linked to neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to reorganize itself by forming new neural connections throughout life. This capacity allows individuals to adapt to new situations, recover from setbacks, and learn from experiences. Both genetics and environmental factors contribute to resiliency. Certain genetic factors can make individuals more predisposed to resiliency, but environmental influences such as supportive relationships and positive experiences play a significant role in developing resilience over time. Research has shown that positive emotions can enhance resilience. Experiencing positive emotions helps individuals to broaden their thought action repertoires and build enduring personal resources, which can buffer against stress and adversity. And this last one was really good. It says cognitive behavioral techniques such as cognitive reframing are effective in building resilience. This involves changing the way one thinks about potentially stressful events, thus reducing negative emotional responses and increasing coping efficacy. That last one is kind of how I operate when it comes to being resilient. And I'll use the get out of or the stay in bed one because that happened a lot throughout my earlier life. I was just instantly depressed, instantly stuck. I feel like stuck is the word. Stuck. You don't know what to do. You kind of feel overwhelmed, like you mentioned, sad, scared, afraid. I mean, it's almost like whatever is going on in your environment has jailed you in, or whatever is going on inside of you, like a sickness, has jailed you in. And I used to question myself a lot. What exactly is being jailed? What exactly is feeling attacked within me? Like what? Because my physical body is sick. My physical body is stressed. My environment's a hot mess. But who's inside me that's feeling caged in during this and feels so tiny, instead of so big and strong, they're tiny and weak and immeasurable and helpless. And that's how my resiliency started uh, becoming stronger within myself, because I started to question who was that small voice inside me, first of all, and what do I got to do to reach in and grab her hand and bring her back out.
I love that. I love that you're questioning who that inner voice is and how you can help that inner voice. Um, there are so many different coping mechanisms. You know, you mentioned um, cognitive therapy, and one of the things that I was reading was about, breathing exercises, the 5-2-8. 5-2-8 is you breathe in for 5 seconds, hold it for 2, and you breathe out with a for 8 seconds. That did help. It's part of meditation. And for you, I like the visualization of reaching out to your inner self and saying, what can I do? How can I help you? And really find out like what is the core of how we're feeling. I just had an epiphany about how those who have cancer, because you mentioned like being trapped and being, small. And I'm sure that when you find out at first when you have cancer or when you have something debilitating, I mean, I have a friend who, you know, um, sadly lost all of her limbs, but she is one resilient woman. And I mean, I would love to have her on our podcast. Um, and ask her more about resiliency, because her portrayal of life is so amazing, because even though she doesn't have her limbs, she is so positive about her situation. And when I asked her how she managed to be like that, how she managed to overcome this challenge of not having her limbs, she said, well, I could have lost my life. And that is what keeps her going. That's her hope. That's her blessing, is that she shouldn't have been here, but she is. So she is so grateful each day for, for where she's at. And for me, you know me, Helen, like you and I are very similar. And there's no way that I'm going to be brought down. I mean, there's a moment where I feel down, and I'm going to have moment. I'm going to have a moment, but I'm not going to have a whole, so I'm not going to be in there forever. It's just that moment. And for me, resiliency is getting or falling 7 times but getting back 8 times. And I think that's a proverb. It's a Japanese proverb. Fall 7 times, stand up 8. Confucius says, our greatest glory is not in never falling, but in rising every time we fall. Nelson Mandela says, do not judge me by my success. Judge me by how many times I fell down and got back up again. Dieter F. says, it's your reaction to adversity, not adversity itself, that determines how your life story will develop. And Mary Holloway says, resilience is knowing that you are the only one that has the power and the responsibility to pick yourself up. And it's kind of like what you said earlier, Helen. It's you have the awareness to ask your inner self about how I can help you. Let me get you up. Let me cheer you on. Because at the end of the day, we're our own cheerleaders. And we have to be mindful of the things that we say to ourselves. So the whole negative self-talk, right? And I told you this earlier today, is that I am feeding myself all these positive words, all these positive affirmations, listening to music, listening to things that are going to uplift me, reading things that are going to uplift me, because I can be stuck in that hole if I choose to. I can be stuck in that moment of grief and sadness and despair, overwhelm, hopelessness. And I did. I mean, I felt hopeless. It was almost like, I'm standing against the wall and like I'm being shot at with all these different, darts. And it's just coming at me one after another, after another, after another. And it really felt like my world was crumbling and I was not on my A game, not on my A game. And I could easily have said, woe is me. This is too much. And I did say that. I said, man, this is too much. But I prayed a lot. I read a lot of verses, and reading all those quotes from Nelson Mandela, from Confucius, from Mary Holloway, those helped me feel like I have more. There's more to life than just being underneath the covers.
Oh, those are great quotes. Thanks for sharing, January. I 100% agree with you. I think that we all kind of want the best for ourselves, Avi, but but I was just telling a friend today, storms and seasons change. I'm sorry, seasons change. And there will always be storms. And it's not that I want to attract them in my life, by saying that, that is just a fact. If there's up, there's down. If there's round, there's square. There's an opposite to every single thing. And it's the law of nature. And it's the law of nature that we will have storms in our life. And one of those storms is obviously grief, a very powerful one. When my mom was going through her terminal cancer, and I went to go spend the last couple months with her as I watched her slowly become this vibrant, amazing person into this vegetable-like person. I mean, it was just so hard. But I did a lot what you did. I went to the gym I was constantly going to the gym. I kept saying, I got to keep my body right. I've got to keep my mind right, my mentality. I was reading books. I was, dancing. I was trying to connect more with the people I love around me, besides my mom when I wasn't with her, because I knew that was feeding my soul and also preparing me for this journey of grief. And I feel so thankful because one of the things with resiliency, actually, that is studied in research is social support. So, strong social support networks are critical for resilience. The presence of supportive relationships can provide emotional support, practical assistance, and a sense of belonging, all of which are crucial for coping with stress and adversity. And when I think about these quotes, or, you reading the Bible or talking to God, and me, hanging out with my loved ones and going to the gym, all of these things are possible because it's somebody else. There's somebody else there, which is which is the number one thing we all need in life, which is social support. There's a saying, everything you want, everything you desire, everything you need is found in a relationship. And in which relationship, that, I mean, determines with you. It could be your spouse, it could be God, it can be your friends, it could be your kids, it can be your animals, right? So so that's definitely a key factor that plays a role in our resiliency. And when I say that, January, how would what I just said with the social support, how was that with what you went through with the month of May?
Oh my gosh, I am going to say a shout out to you, Helen. You checked on me all the time to see how I'm doing, whether it be text, whether it be through Facebook, sending me reels, sending me something just to cheer me up. Charette checked on me all the time. Like, she was just messaging me and sending me voicemail, sending me something to laugh at. Um, I had a lot of text messages from friends, from family. My mom FaceTimed me multiple times to see how I'm doing. So I did. I had so much, like, an outpour of love and an outpour of care, and just to see how, just to check on me, and that felt so good. So it really did uplift my spirit. And you talked about a dog, and how dogs, and children, all these different types of relationships are really vital, and they were vital in helping me get out of my funk, get out of this. I'm still in the midst of it, okay? So I'm not 100%. I actually have, like, my GI specialist appointment in June, June 18. And so I'm at this point, I'm like, I don't know what's really going on inside, but knowing that I have so much love and care and appreciation from others, that just gives me so much more strength. Gives me strength. It gives me, like, purpose, to keep going on. And it reminds me of, and I mentioned this before, the Blue Zones Project. The Blue Zones Project talks about the power of nine, and one of the power of nine is community. And I can see that with my dad. So my dad, he had a health issue in December. Have no idea what happened to him. He just all of a sudden stopped responding to us. He stopped responding, and he stopped saying hi, like, just stopped, like, acknowledging, and he was just blank face. And he was in the hospital, and it was probably 2.5 days until he finally was able to respond to us. Um, the rest of the time he was like almost like a vegetable. Um, and that scared us. And anyway, he was in the hospital multiple times, December and then January. And then I believe it was April. Was it April when they said we're gonna go back to the Philippines? And I'm like, what? I'm like, no, like, you just got out of surgery. You gotta recover. And he was determined to go. We had, like, a intervention and everything for him to stay with us. And he's like, no, I want to go. Fast forward, and I see him. he is thriving so much being in the Philippines because he's surrounded by his community. He is surrounded by joy and love and things to do. And my dad is an explorer, and so he gets to explore all of Philippines, and just enjoy time with my mom. So I see it. I see how vital it is for resiliency to be a part of community and to, not shut those people out, because that's actually what will propel your spirit to get out of its shell. Yeah, so I appreciate that. Thanks for asking that question.
Oh my God. You're welcome. I love that you brought up your dad because I remember when that happened. And to hear that he was like, I'm going back to where my community, not that he doesn't want to be with you, but the joy and the love you're speaking of, I would definitely feel the same. I mean, I love where I live, but I have a large community in a certain area. Like my sisters are all down in Arizona, and I'd be like, oh, I want to be with them. I want to be with them. So I totally get that. Um, I love that you brought up the blue zone. And I love that you kind of made that connection with resiliency, because I think that there is this idea of resiliency having to be so hardcore and so push. And I mean, I get it. Some of my best motivational speakers out there are like Tony Robbins and David Goggins and Jocko Willink and Joe Rogan, and they're all masculine energies, right? And I just held a workshop in May called Resilient Woman. And I'm doing a second one here in Casper, Wyoming, on June 26th. I'm sorry, Radiant Woman, not Resilient, Radiant Woman, Radiant Woman 2 here in Casper. But we actually talk about resiliency, and we talk about what it means to be fierce on a feminine energy level. And why I'm bringing this up is because resiliency, there's no measure of strength on that. For me, I've come to the conclusion, especially as I'm uh getting into new decades of my life, that I gotta real quick, I gotta intersect here on why I just said that. I was about to say because I'm aging, but I heard something interesting the other day, and it was an older woman, and probably around 90 years old, and she said, we're not aging like barely now. We've been aging since we were born. And I said, oh my goodness, yes, embrace it. We've been embracing it our whole entire lives. Okay, back to where I was at. The point of this is that as I'm getting into new decades of my life, resiliency for me is coming in different forms, and they're coming in these little tiny forms sometimes, just like it's almost like a little snowflake. It's delicate, it's beautiful, it's small, but I need it. I need that. And little droplets, right? Like how you just said, January, you're still in the midst of it. But that resiliency is there, and it's just like a little bit forward, a little bit forward. And it's so big, but so graceful, right?
It reminds me of the book Atomic Habits, because Atomic Habits talks about like the 1%, right? And we don't really see it because it's such like brushing your teeth, right? That's just something that we do. It's a habitual thing. But the more and more you do those little things, those little things actually matter. It's so funny how, like, before, right, we always think, oh, big stuff, big, big visions, they got, and you still should. However, don't underestimate the small things. And I actually just texted a couple friends. I said, and we're kind of all in the same boat, just feeling this like funk, and I mentioned to them, well, we gotta celebrate our small wins. What are your small wins for today? My small win the other day was I got up and I got dressed. I got dressed, I put makeup on, and I haven't done that in weeks. That to me was a win. So yes, I feel like resiliency, like you said earlier, there's really not a measure of it. There's not oh, you gotta go big or go strong, and that's resilience. No, resilience is getting out of bed, brushing your teeth, taking a shower, going out for a walk, just stepping out of bed. Those are resiliency. I see this. So yesterday I saw this one TikTok or YouTube, and it was a reel, and it was a man, he's 102, and this man was jogging. Like he's got his cap on, he's got his exercise suit, he's jogging, and then you see him like eating, and he's eating vegetables. He's vegan. And one of the things that and he canoes. So one of the things that he said was, also about like the whole aging, is that he said, I still have more life to live. He's like, he's 102. I still have more life to live. He still wants to spend more time with his wife and doing all the fun things that he enjoys doing. And that was inspiring to me. I saw a 70-year-old that did like this. She was on the guy's like shoulder on the beach, and she like stood up and like did a flip and then did the splits. Woman was 70. I'm like, wow, that is amazing. To me, that's hope. To me, that's resiliency, because it took, and kind of like us, and I know you're gonna say, kind of like us, Helen, we did a lot of work to get to where we're at. It's I don't know if you posted it, but I saw this image of a woman that's sitting on the ground and there's roots. So somebody said, don't compare a 20-year-old work in progress to somebody that just started. So it's two women, right? A woman that has growth, a little bit of growth, and then another woman with a lot of roots down, but you can't tell, what they went through. Was that you that posted that?
No, but I know exactly who it was. It was our friend Simone Marie. Shout out Simone Marie. Going back to what you're talking about with our elderly superheroes, we have a friend, BJ. I don't think you've met her yet, but you know of her. BJ here in Casper, Wyoming. Really dear friend of mine. She's 80. She's in the gym. She's preparing to go on. One of her dreams is to uh, go horseback riding on a certain trail. And she's been in the gym. She's been eating right. She's been doing all the things she needs to. She's got a new boyfriend. She's in love. She's in love. I mean, her spirit is so youthful, and I admire her so much. And I always tell her hashtag goals. And there was a moment one time a few weeks ago. It was me, her, BJ, who's 80, and another good friend of ours, Marilee, who's 63. And we were all sitting there talking, laughing, just having the best time over coffee. And I had this vision, I kid you not. I had this vision of three young teenagers sitting around, all the same age. All of us as teenagers, same age. And it just like hit me like, wow, our our physical bodies aren't speaking to one another right now. Our spirits are. Our what's inside is speaking and connecting with one another. It was just so fascinating because there literally was about 20 years in between all three of us. Between me and Marilee, and then Marilee and BJ. But that's the way my brain operates in what you're talking about, the roots. I'm a woman with deep roots. I've built myself to see these visions of these beautiful uh visions of where I am and who I'm speaking with and what kind of energies are around me. But I didn't get to this point without resiliency, because I I've said this before, because I'm so positive and I'm always trying to choose the higher road. I really do. I really try. But people can't see unless they read my book, of the pain I've went through, of the heartache I've gone through, the horrible things I've actually done in my life that I'm not proud of to this day. I was a girl who once looked at myself in a mirror and punched the mirror and cracked my hand and made it bleed. And I was angry. I was ferocious. I mean, I showed up at my ex-husband's house with a knife thinking I was going to hurt him and then hurt me, because I couldn't live without him and live without certain things in my, like, I've I've been to the ugliest places in my life, and resiliency has showed up and said to me, honey, you have a choice. You have a choice right now. And I'm telling you, if you don't choose me, this is not going to go well for you. And I feel so thankful to younger Helen for saying, with all her might, with the weakest she felt, with so much despair, I choose you, resiliency.
Oh my gosh. Woo! And this goes out to many of you out there because Helen and I know that this is just not our story, but we all have different experiences. However, adversity is one that is common between many of us women, many of us human beings. We go through all these challenges, these seasons, like Helen was saying earlier, and these seasons are there to guide us, to teach us, to mold us, and to show us what we're truly made of. There's another quote about how you don't know how strong you are until you really have to be faced with being strong. And I love that because, without rain or without, what is it? We need sunshine and rain for us to grow and for us to blossom. And so all the good and all the bad, they're all there for us to just be the pinnacle or be the catalyst for growing who we are supposed to be and meant to be. So whatever adversity and challenges that we're all facing at this moment, embrace it. It's just a moment. It's just a moment. This too shall pass. It may seem like daunting. It may seem like, oh my gosh, this is forever, but it is there to teach us and to show us what we're made of. So I love that we talked about resiliency. This is amazing. And I would love to hear other stories of resiliency. So anybody that is listening to this podcast, if you have a story and would like to share it on our podcast, message us, message Helen, message me, message us at Sexy Freedom, or go to Sexy, Successful, and Soul Fed and add us there and let us know that you have a story that you'd like to share because we'd love to hear your stories.
Yes, I was going to say we have a new feature. 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 You can actually text us. You can text us a review. You can text us anything you want to say, and we can give you a shout out if you just click the link that says text us a review. It's our fan mail. We can't respond to it, but we can give you a shout out, or we can take your concerns and your reviews and share them on our social media platforms. So January, let's go ahead and wrap this up. Where can people find you?
You can find me on LinkedIn, January Liddell, Facebook, Anchored Financial LLC, although I don't know if I put the LLC at the end. So look for Anchored Financial, both on Instagram and Facebook. I have a new book that is coming, or my first, just solely my book coming out called Alina, the Super Saver. It should be published this month or this coming month in June. And it's alinahehoneymaker.com, alinahehoneymaker.com. And that is pretty much, I'm an open book. Please, you can Google me and find me anywhere online. Helen, where can we find you?
All right. You can find me, Helen Edwards. Same. Google me. I'll pop right up. I'm a financial strategist. So if you're looking for investments, where to put your 401k that's maybe just sitting there, life insurance, term whole, or looking for a tax-free retirement account, I'm your girl. So contact me for that. You can also get your copy of my best-selling book, Nothing Sexier Than Freedom. That's available on Amazon and Audible. And also, I have a second podcast out. It is a short, every episode is under 5 minutes. It is flying off the handle. It is called Your Morning Sauce, for your quick snack bite of inspiration and motivation. Definitely go check that out. And I want to give this quick shout out to January for bouncing back. We love you so much. And I'm so grateful you just keep coming on here, especially when you're in the midst of your trials and tribulations. You're still sticking it through. And one last shout out to my amazing husband. I love you, Rob Olson in Casper, Wyoming. You're amazing. And no matter what you go through, I'm going to stick by your side. We're going to get through it. Resiliency is on our side, baby. I love you. All right. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Check our links. Give us a review. Thanks for listening so much. We appreciate you, and keep being resilient. Bye.
Aloha.
Want to hear more?
Visit us at sexyfreedommedia.com.